At the beginning of the story, we see a man named Neil who entered the hospital, moving quickly from one corridor to another until he found the back door of the hospital. He was wearing a band uniform, so no one doubted him. Everyone thought he was a hospital staff. As soon as he got out, he stole an ambulance and drove through the city streets without stopping, as if this is his daily work. Meanwhile, a man named Chris bought a lot of explosives from a construction supplier. There was not even a wrinkle on his face, like he's just doing his job. Next we see Michael leading his partner Wangaro into a stolen tow truck. It was clear that something big was about to happen. Now their fifth partner, Trejo, was following in an armored car. He told everyone else on the radio about his exact location. Chris arrived with Neil in the ambulance a short time later. Now all five wore masks so that no one could see their faces. Neil suddenly stopped the ambulance in the middle of the road, due to which the armored car coming behind also had to stop. In the next second, the tow truck came with force and hit the armored car, due to which the car spun and the driver lost control. Now the armored car turned and entered the parking lot of a dealership and collided with several vehicles parked there. A guard immediately picked up the radio and asked for help. But before that, the team set explosives. The back door flew off with a bang. Even the glass panes of all the vehicles parked nearby were broken. All three guards were overheard by this sudden attack, and quickly the thieves forced them out. Chris went quickly and started checking envelopes one after another inside the car. They knew that at any time the police. Chris finally finds the envelope the entire game was designed for. Trejo laid spikes on the road before the police arrived. The Wingru was disturbed by the movements of the guards, because he felt that she was deliberately speaking to him. It didn't occur to him that they might not be able to hear because of the blast. In anger, Wangro shot one of the guards. As soon as the second guard moved towards his gun, Wangro killed him too. Then he pointed the gun at the third guard, and as soon as he approached him, he killed him too. Now Chris had got the envelope, so without wasting a single second they ran towards the ambulance. He sat on the driving seat and the ambulance moved forward at high speed. Everyone behind changed their clothes, removed their masks and gear, and started looking like normal people. Within a few moments, police sirens started being heard. The initial police vehicles could not see the spike strip, and 3-4 vehicles crashed. Due to this reason, the entire road got blocked. Now the policemen started searching for the thieves on foot. By then, this team of thieves had gone some distance away and left the ambulance. They had also planted a bomb inside the ambulance so that all their weapons and evidence would disappear in the blast. In the evening, Neil met his money laundering expert Nate. On opening the envelope, he found company bonds worth crores of rupees. This company belongs to a corrupt businessman. Neil had thought that he would collect a lot of money from that businessman in exchange for these bonds. Now Nate said that there is one more work. There is a man named Kelso who is ready to give $10 million. On hearing this, Neil said to get the meeting done quickly. Then Detective Vincent reached the crime scene along with him and started searching for clues with his team. On checking, it was found that all the vehicles used were stolen. A man who was present there at that time told that he had heard the name Slick from the mouth of the thieves but did not see anyone's mouth. Looking at the debris scattered on the scene, Vincent made a complete calculation of what might have happened. He said that this is not a mere thief. He is very clever. After this, we see all the thieves eating food together. Wangro was trying to convince everyone else that it was necessary to kill the guards. But this made Neil angry and he hit Wangro's head hard on the table. Neil said that if you had not killed the policeman, you would not have taken much interest. Now that their own people are dead, they will sneak in and investigate. Neil was still very angry. He went out and killed Wangaro more. He even took out a gun to kill him. But then a police car passed by and Neil had to stop. After the police car left, when the team looked back, Wingro had disappeared from there. The next day, Vincent and his partner arrived at a garage. The owner of this shop was his informant. The argument continued between them for a long time. As soon as he received the threat of jail, the newsman told that one of my brothers would meet Neil in Koreatown today night. Neil meets Kelso, who tells him he wants to rob a bank. He got the news that after a few days there would be 10 million cash lying in his safe. That means approximately 90 crore rupees. Neil found this idea a bit risky at first. But then Kelso told that brother, "I am a hacker and I can turn off the alarm for 15 minutes, and in that time you and your people will leave from there." Hearing this, Neil agreed to do the work. After returning home, Neil saw Chris sleeping on the floor at his house. First of all, Neil called his wife and told her that it is okay, your husband is sleeping at my house, and then made coffee for Chris. Chris's marriage is not very good. Last night also he had a fight with Charlotte. Neil had a suspicion that you were cheating on him, but Chris denied this. Later Neil called the corrupt businessman Roger and set up a meeting, the same one whose bonds he. While looking around, he saw Charlotte leaving a hotel room with another man. Angry, Neil entered the room and pushed Charlotte towards the wall. Charlotte said that I had come here for some work, but Neil said to give Chris one last chance, and he said that the next work will bring a loss of money. If he blows that too, I will punish him. Meanwhile, in Koreatown, Vincent went to the club and met Cabry's brother. There he came to know about a man who commits big thefts. His nickname is Slick. On hearing this name, Vincent's ears perked up. He quickly informed his friends. Now he met Neil Roger's drop man in an empty drive-in theater and started talking while sitting in the car. Then a man secretly came near and tried to shoot at Neil. But Chris, who was hiding, told him beforehand, and Neil put the car in reverse and hit the man's leg. While Neil kept moving the car forward, Chris fired from behind. The drop man also immediately increased his speed and left his partner there. Kutal, who was left behind, tried to shoot at Neil's car, but then both Neil and Chris started firing simultaneously. Amidst the rain of bullets, Neil drove the car directly at the man and crushed him. The driver leaving the theater almost escaped, but Michael took aim at the right time and shot him down. After everything calmed down, Neil opened the payment envelope and his face changed. The money inside was filled only with useless papers. Filled with anger and hatred, Neil immediately called Roger, cancelled the deal and swore that he would not leave you alive. That night Neil and his friends sat down to dinner with their wives and children. Pina learns that the police were keeping an eye on them. The police recognized Chris and Michael from previous cases, but Neil was still an unknown face to them. Meanwhile, Wingro was with a woman in a motel room. After the work was over, he revealed his true identity. He was a serial killer who used to target women working at night. Within a moment he killed that woman. Shortly after, the police reached the crime scene. Vincent had to stop the victim's mother from coming near the dead body. Seeing mother's condition, Vincent tried his best to support her, but the poor woman had just lost her daughter. How could she stop? Well, a few nights later, Vincent and his team were hiding in a van and waiting near a mine. Michael was climbing a pole and deactivating the alarm system. Neil was standing outside and checking to see if anyone was coming, while Chris broke the lock and entered inside and reached the safe. He started trying to break the safe using some special tools, but then a policeman sat down and made a noise from his gun. Neil immediately recognized this voice, and without wasting any time he entered inside and said that, "We are leaving as soon as possible." Now all three left from there without stealing anything. Vincent stopped his men from arresting them because for breaking the surf lock and entering inside, they would have been sentenced to a few months and then they would have been released. Vincent wanted to indict these people for some big crime. The next day, Vincent and his team caught Charlene's lover and started interrogating her. On the other hand, Neil told the team that the policemen might have tapped our phones, and it would be better to go underground for a while, but Chris was under pressure of money and he somehow convinced Neil to do the Kelso job. Now the team reached a place to make a plan, and the policemen were keeping an eye on them from a distance. When the entire gang left from there, the police tried to understand what they were planning. There was nothing worth stealing. Then Vincent realized that it was just a trap so that they would know about our presence. Neil took pictures of the entire police team from the top of the crane. That night, Neil meets with Nate, who gives him information about all the cops and how they work. Nate also talks to Kelso about the bank heist. After understanding all this, Neil calculated that this work was worth taking the risk. At this time, Vincent was following Neil in the surveillance helicopter. After a long time he saw Neil and left the chauffeur and came into the car. Now Vincent started chasing Neil, but Neil deliberately drove the car to the side. Now Vincent went to Neil and invited him to have coffee with him. Both of them talked about their personal lives while sitting in a restaurant, how his job has become his entire life. Suddenly, Vincent said that I don't like killing people. But if you start killing innocent people, then what should we do? Neil also gave a straight answer as to what to do with the sinful son. Next morning, when Vincent reached the station, he became very angry, because he had just come to know that despite keeping an eye, Neil and his team had gone missing. Actually, he was working in the parking lot of the bank. And now preparations to rob the bank had begun. At the same time, Wainwright reached the office of that businessman Roger and offered a deal. In the episode, Neil took Chris and Michael to the restaurant where he recognized Donald, his old prison buddy who was now working at the restaurant on parole. At that very moment, Riho called and told that the police was chasing me. Therefore, he will not be able to participate in this theft. Now Neil immediately told Donald that he has one thing to do. And Donald also said yes without thinking much. On his way out, Donald pushed his boss because he always looked down on him. Within moments, Neil, Michael and Chris entered the bank through separate doors. After taking position, Chris started beating the guard and banning him, while the rest of the people were shown guns and made to sit down. Neil consoled all the captive people that all your money has been insured by the government. Even if we rob the bank, it will have no effect on you. If the money remains in your account, then do not do any trick. Then Neil hit a manager and snatched his keys and opened the safe. He quickly started filling his bag with cash. Meanwhile, at the police station, detectives got the news of bank heist from their informer, and Vincent set out immediately. Michael came out of the bank first and sat in the car with Donald. But then as soon as Chris and Neil came out, the police saw them. Neil sat in the car, but Chris, seeing the policeman, started firing in front. Common people started running and hiding here and there, and the policemen also started firing bullets at the thieves. Michael also started firing from the window. A bullet hit the policeman in the neck, and despite wearing a bulletproof jacket, Vincent ran to his friend and took advantage of this opportunity to enter Chris's car. Donald drove away. The shootout continued and the car's windows were broken. Soon Donald lost control of the car, because the tires were burst due to the bullet. One bullet went straight into Donald's head and the car went out of control and crashed. Neil, Michael and Chris were forced to leave the car as the police had blocked the road and the firing started again. The Prius drivers were killed and the vehicles destroyed. The criminals kept moving forward, hiding and finding a way out. Michael got separated after killing another detective. Chris reached near the roadblock but could not see the policeman coming from the side and got shot in his shoulder. Neil killed some more policemen and finally the car fight ended. Neil tackled Chris and the two quickly drove to a grocery store parking lot. During this, Neil kept firing at the policemen while coming back, and this part of the city was filled with screaming people. Vincent was trying his best to take the frightened common people away from the firing area so that no common man got injured. Vincent was sending them away from the firing line by gesturing with his hand. The police was busy managing this entire chaos, and taking advantage of this opportunity, Neil somehow made Chris sit in a car. Chris was in pain but was still conscious. Neil drove the car and both of them left from there. At this time, two detectives were chasing Michael. Michael ran to a restaurant where people were eating peacefully. Suddenly the whole atmosphere changed with his entry. People started running away, dropping their chairs. There was a stampede everywhere. Michael also came out of the restaurant and started crossing a fountain. In this stampede, a small child got separated from his mother. Michael immediately caught hold of him and started using it as a shield, pulling him towards himself. At that very moment, Vincent had come from behind. He waited with bated breath for the right opportunity, and as soon as the child moved a little to the side, Vincent took aim and shot Michael straight in the middle of the head and killed Michael there. Vincent immediately picked up the child and handed him over to his mother. When the news of this heist started running on news channels, Donald's girlfriend came to know about his death. She didn't even know that Donald was doing anything like this. On the other hand, Charlene had also understood after watching TV that her husband was in great danger. Neil took Chris to his old doctor friend. The doctor took out the bullet and cleaned the wound. He told that the bullet has broken the bone and he needs rest. Neil only heard this and immediately refused. He said that now is not the time to rest. Now he took some clothes from the doctor and took revenge. And then Neil explained to Chris that Nate will come to get you. We will have to leave the city, but till then stay hidden. Now Neil had to make a new plan because he was sure that Trejo had met up with the police. He must have told the complete plan to get out of here. But Chris started saying that I would not go anywhere without Charlene and my child. There was both pain and stubbornness in his air. Neil coolly explained to her that no one could do anything to Charlene. There is great danger if you take him along. At the same time, Leanne was calling her lover and asking him to take me and my child somewhere far away. Whereas Neil secretly entered Trejo's house. He had a gun in his hand and suspicion in his eyes. As soon as he went to the bedroom, he found Trejo's wife dead. Moving forward, he found Trejo bleeding on the ground. Now the whole truth has come out. Waingro and Raja had forced Trejo to give information to the police. His wife threatens to harm his family when Neil tells her that they killed your wife anyway. Trejo was completely shocked after hearing this and pointed towards Neil. Neil understood what his friend wanted and shot him too. Now as soon as he came out, Neil called Nate. He said to pick up Chris and leave quickly and also asked for Roger's address. On the other hand, Vincent and his team broke the door of an apartment and entered inside. Vincent, in anger, kills the man inside by breaking the balcony glass. Out of fear, the man agreed that yes, it was I who had given the tip about the heist in the station. All this information was given to me by a man named Waingaro. On the other hand, Neil entered from the back side of Roger's house and found Roger inside watching TV. Without thinking anything, he threw his chair straight at the window and pointed his gun straight at Roger. When asked about Waingaro, Roger tried to pretend to be ignorant. On hearing this, Neil's anger crossed his limits and he fired multiple bullets and killed him there. On the other hand, Charlene's lover had made a deal with the police. Therefore Charlene and the child were shifted to the safe house. There were many guards also there. A detective convinces her to testify against Chris. At first Charlene refused, but when it was explained to her that if she remained silent, she would also be considered their accomplice and would have to work in jail, what would happen to this child? Then out of compulsion, Charlene said yes. Neil went to his girlfriend's house and asked her to run away with him, but she was now scared of Neil and she was running away from him. Neil went after her and caught hold of her and hugged her and promised that everything would be fine. Subar Neil gave him some money and talked about sending him to the safe house. After this, Neil went to the internet and took fake passports, credit cards and plane tickets. When he asked about Chris, he came to know that he had gone out to search for his wife. Hearing this, Neil again went to his girlfriend. And finally somehow he convinced her to come with him. That evening, Chris reached the address that Charlene had given on the phone. When they met on the balcony, Charlene told him with a gesture that it was a trap. Chris immediately turned around and pretended to ask the neighbors for directions and left from there. After going a little further, the police stopped him and asked for his ID, but Chris was saved by showing his fake ID. Meanwhile, Vincent reached home tired and found his daughter unconscious in the bathtub. He quickly took him out and took him to the hospital. On the other hand, Neil was driving with his girlfriend when he got a call from Nate. Nate told him where Waingaro was hiding. For a few moments Neil thought whether to kill him or run away. And then suddenly the car turned. After reaching the hotel, Neil told his friend to stay inside the car. And then he entered through the back door and cleverly pretended to work there and took out the room number of Waingaro. After stealing the uniform, he passed through the lobby and went up the elevator. After reaching his destination, he activated the fire alarm. Everyone staying in the hotel got scared. Neil knocked on the door of Waingaro's room and then stood a little to the side so that he could not see him from inside. As soon as the door opened a little, Neil kicked with full force. And soon, without wasting any time, he killed Waingaro. While passing from there, a policeman pointed his gun at him, but Neil very cleverly beat him and made him unconscious. Soon Vincent reached there in a helicopter. His eyes fell on Neil's girlfriend sitting alone in the car. He became a little suspicious of the girl, so he started going towards her. Meanwhile, Neil had also seen all this, so he deliberately took him away from his girlfriend. Vincent also started chasing Neil fast. Soon both of them started firing at each other near the airport runway. Neil had cleverly hidden himself behind Vincent, but suddenly, due to the lights of the plane, Vincent saw Neil's form and he turned and killed Neil there. If you like the video,